Hi, my name's Tim Smith from the Arundell Arms Hotel in Lifton in West Devon. I'm going to tie this fly, which I call a WMD, which is just a great pattern for night fishing for sea trout. It's my kind of standard wet fly pattern that I'd use on a floating line or more often on a midge tip, sort of slow sink tip line. It can be tied in sizes 2 to 12. To cover all heights of water and temperature of water. It's a great pattern, it's pretty easy to tie. So here we go. Okay, so we're going to start with a size 4 straight-eyed streamer hook in the vise. I'll tie these anywhere from a size 2 to a size 12 and use them throughout the season, but my sort of standard size would be a 4 or a 2 in early season or in high water. So start with 8/0 thread and run it right down. Okay, I'm going to stop fairly short. I like this fly with a relatively short body, but entirely up to you. Next thing is some flat silver tinsel. This is silver holographic. Now if you want a much more durable fly, I would use oval silver tinsel, but I just personally think that the flat silver looks much flashier. So next up is black seal's fur. Notice how I'm dubbing it in one direction, not on and off. Okay, so make a nice rope up. The body of this fly should be nice and straggly, really. Okay. And we're going to dub up the body, making sure we leave plenty of space for the hackles and the wing. Wind up. A little bit more. Okay, next up is ribbing. I'm just going to rib in nice open turns up the body. Tie it off. Cut the butt off. Right, next up is a long black cock hackle. I'm going to strip off the lowest, softest fibres and tie it in. I always tie them in 45-degree angle with the shiny side of the hackle, the top side, facing me. And get your hacker pliers and as you wind you've got to stroke the fibres back. I would say sort of 4 to 6 turns depending on how you want the fly and how dense you want it. That looks fine to me. Tie it off. Like so. And then we want teal or widgeon. This happens to be widgeon. Slightly longer in the fibre. Okay. I'm going to again strip away the soft stuff at the bottom and stroke the fibres back because we need to tie any thick stemmed hackle such as teal or widgeon. We need to tie it in by its tip. I'll stroke that back, cut the tip to a little triangle to allow me to tie it in. Okay. And as I wind this, the same as with the cock hackle, I want to stroke all the fibres back, get them facing in the right direction. A couple of turns should do it. All depends on the density of your hackle, and some teal or widgeon's denser than others. That looks pretty good to me. And again, stroke the fibres back. Then what I want to do is kind of part the fibres on the top of the shank, stroke them down. And wind up. Any that aren't on the bottom of the hook, or at least running down, and just clip them off. There we go. Now, next bit is a bit of flashy material. This is a sort of flat pearl, don't know what you call it. Anyway, looks good. You might want to add some coloured flash, or you might want to add a lot more than I add. Entirely up to you. And just put one strand in tied up in the middle, and then I pull it back and wind over the base of the flash. That means it can't pull out. And then cut this roughly around the length of the hook. Okay. Next thing we need is some Arctic fox black. Now, a lot of people use foxtail. I'm not the biggest fan of it, just because it's very often very coarse. I like this to be a really mobile fly. Nice soft fox body hair is what we want. So I've just found a bunch. Okay, and I need to hold it by the tips and take out the under fibres. Okay, to help you could use a little comb, toothbrush, something like that. There we go. And I want the tips of these fibres to come just beyond the bend of the hook. If you go a lot further back and you end up with a wing sort of this long, this long, this long, what will happen is when you fish it, it'll wrap and you'll end up with a tangled fly like that. And nothing worse than fishing down a run for an hour or so trying to catch fish, and then you get out to notice that your fly's all hitched up. So make sure that the tips come to just beyond the bend, and then we pinch and loop to tie that in. Now, before I really lock the turns off, I'm just going to give him a little brush, make sure he's sitting nicely, and that's spot on as far as I'm concerned. Then we can do our locking turns. All the time, just checking it from all angles, just make sure it's sitting right. That's good. And then we can clip away the base fibres, butt ends. Okay, and by all means take your time to do this, just really tidy it up. And make a head. Okay, last thing I do is whip finish and super glue. I personally prefer good old Loctite to finish the head of a fly. Gives you a really nice glossy even coat on the head, and also will soak in and bind those fox fibres so they really can't pull out. Now this fly here is my kind of standard sea trout pattern. I think if I was to fish one wet fly, this would be it. I'll use it in a size 2 early season and during higher water. I'll tend to fish it on a slow intermediate sort of neutral density line. And then a size 4 or 6 would be a standard sort of high summer sea trout pattern, but dropping right down to a 10 or a 12 to use on a dropper, or perhaps for very low water in August when the fish get a bit fussy. But yeah, you can't really go wrong with it, to be quite honest. It's nothing original, it's just a stoat's tail with a difference, but it gives you that nice straggly mobile shape, nice big silhouette. You can see it's kind of like a temple dog in a way, that there's quite a big profile that way, and it just seems to work. I mean, it ticks all the boxes for a night fly, and I've had a lot of success with it. Thank you.